Good morning, everyone. A popular phrase in English which finishes an explanation is, "See what I mean?" Now, people use this after a demonstration maybe, and then the meaning is obvious. But we also say it after an explanation. Why? What's to see? Another is, why can't you see my point of view? So sight, seeing, a very powerful sense along with the four others. See what that feels like. See what it smells like now. We use it in connection with other senses too. We are very visual creatures. From the moment we open our eyes and behold the world, we're taking it all in through our eyes. What do we see? Beauty, ugliness, richness, blandness. Well, a psychologist will tell you we see just about everything. For instance, we see what's happening in our peripheral vision all the time. However, we notice it when it moves. That's our ancestors learning to avoid predators. Seeing something is now the same as paying it attention. We learn to identify our family, our friends, our surroundings, our environment, and our visual preferences. We become discerning about what we like to see and what we do not like to see. However, perhaps the more we look, the less we see. Also, we need to see things in context so our minds can fill in the blanks. If we have no context, we have to make up this context. We need a big picture in which to contextualize the fine details. For instance, look at these household items. Can you recognize them? They are not views we are used to. We have no context, and they are in too much detail. Yet, if we see too much, too big a picture, we fail to see the detail and can be tripped up by that if that detail is important. In this case, we have to actively look for the detail and exclude some of the content of the bigger picture. We learn to do this visually from a very early age. We have to if we are to function and sometimes to survive. And sometimes we fail epically. So we need to see both the wider scene and the detail. But this isn't just about sight. See what I mean? Life is about the big picture and the fine detail. Sometimes our lives are too busy. Perhaps we are busy thinking about other things. Perhaps we are distracted. What are we missing in our wider lives if we struggle to see these things? Visually, having an eye for detail can be a very useful skill and powerful skill. And it is a skill. It can be nurtured, practiced, and enhanced. When you do observation drawing, the secret to creating an accurate drawing lies less in how talented you are as an artist and more in how you use your eyes, how you observe your subject. Proportionally, you should spend more time looking and seeing your subject than you should looking at your drawing. An exercise to try is to draw the room you're sitting in without being able to see the paper you're drawing on and not lifting the pen from the page. But the ability to see the big picture, to pay attention to the details, and to know which is most important and appropriate and when is the most powerful skill. We have to be able to do both. but that's useless unless you know which is most important at which time. A kickboxer will learn to see the whole of his opponent's body so that he may be aware of which part of that body might become a threat. But the skill comes in being able to do this and immediately switch concentration to the moving foot or fist. But what about the big picture of all the other threats? The skill of the champion is being able to in fact do both simultaneously and switch most attention to either as required. A good artist pays attention to the most intricate detail in his painting. He knows that people will study it in detail. Yet always the artist is aiming for the overall effect of the painting, as this is what people will see first and will make the biggest impression. In fact, without both, the picture is meaningless. So far, we see the visual, but what about the other senses? What about combinations? A good therapist will be listening, really listening, to the client. But the therapist will also be looking for the tiny visual clues to how the client is feeling and reacting. How do the visual and sound cues go together? The big picture may be of a very angry and aggressive man, almost threatening. But look and listen to the details. We might see a scared and vulnerable little boy. Another combination is an analysis of a task, a project or a piece of work. We are trying to solve a problem. We are trying to get an engine to work. We need the big bits, we need the little bits. We need to solve a complicated equation. We need to solve each piece at a time. We need to plan where we are going with the solution. How about at school? How many of you check your work before handing it in? How many of you check your assessment or exam paper before declaring that you have finished? Have you really checked? Checked the detail? Have you checked, or have you just looked to confirm what you think you wrote? We all do it. Have you applied this finest of senses to make marginal gains in your attainment? Spotting a spelling mistake, spotting a small maths error in a big problem, spotting a wrong tense in a foreign language phrase. These could all add or subtract a mark or two, which might be the difference between pass and fail. Serious stuff. Imagine a tired doctor telling a nurse to give a patient 100 milligrams of a drug instead of 10 milligrams. Imagine the consequences. In daily life, how many times does the detail fog our appreciation of the big picture? It can be dangerous. On a day-to-day basis, look around you, see your friends. Now really look at your friends. Look. How many of you really see those subtle cues that your friend is giving out when they don't feel well or have something on their mind? You do see it, but are you paying attention? Or are you lost in the big picture of the classroom? Do you even look at and listen to your friends and family when you are communicating with them? Or are you guilty of maintaining that you can multitask and actually have your attention focused on a screen? Have you ever asked your parents what their day consists of? Have you ever considered that their unfavourable response to something you have said or done might have been triggered by something you have not seen? For those of you who are still trying to work out what those household items are, here they are again, with the whole object. We can see how paying attention to the little things can bring benefits, but there is a balance. If you go around only looking at the detail, what do you miss in terms of the bigger picture? Does a professional athlete just turn up to their game or competition and perform? We only see the performance on the day. What else should we be looking for? Obviously, we know that it cannot be the case that nothing goes on behind the scenes. But what does an athlete's average day really consist of? See the bigger picture. This is an image of Juhu Beach in Mumbai at sunset. Beautiful. The photographer obviously has the beach to themselves. But do they? What are you not seeing? If you go to Juhu Beach, getting a shot of the sunset is extremely difficult because the beach actually looks like this. In fact, when I went, it was even busier, and trying to get a photograph with no people in it was very difficult. Big picture thinking is also vitally linked to the venture success of entrepreneurs. Think about building an industrial fishing trawler that can harvest massive tonnage of fish in one outing. It would be very efficient, cost effective, and less labour intensive. The big picture would reveal overfishing of the seas, massive bycatch loss of livelihood to smaller fishing businesses, economic devastation of fishing villages, possible export of economic value overseas by large corporations, and loss of tax revenue, etc. An even bigger picture view would be seeing the matter of feeding people or animals and the most sustainable means of sustaining food security. A big picture person is likely to see how an obstacle impacts the big picture and how that can be turned into an opportunity, a huge advantage if you're leading a team. However, things aren't all that simple, and neither big picture thinking nor detail orientation would work in isolation. In fact, big picture thinking on its own would struggle to get anything actually done. What does this all mean to me? Some of you might be asking. Well, here is something a little closer to home. Let's have a look at a timetable. What do you see? Let's pull out a little. The next image is of the grade 8 timetable. All of them. Now what do you see? Grade 8 do 13 subjects. They have 18 subjects to choose from. Grade 9 do 9 subjects. They have 22 subjects to choose from. Grade 11 do 6 subjects. They have 42 subjects to choose from. I cannot put the whole school timetable in one image. The picture is too big. So how does it help us to see the bigger picture? It helps you to see things from another perspective. It helps you to understand decisions. It helps you see solutions. But it cannot work in isolation. Attention to detail is needed to complement and maximise full understanding of a situation. So start opening your eyes. Try to balance having your head in the clouds with having your head down. Be aware of the bigger picture to ensure you consider all the perspectives and options, but learn to pay attention to the finer detail to ensure successful implementation of the bigger picture. Consider everything you do at school and outside to enhance your chances at an excellent university offer. But don't forget to proofread your application.